Hi guys, and welcome to the Sunderland vs Lincoln match preview. So Sunderland are going to be taking on Lincoln on Tuesday night. It's a 7:45 kickoff, I do believe, and it is an absolute must-win game in my opinion. Now, we'll just quickly touch on the topic of the weekend. Of course, I was working, so I didn't do a review or a preview to that game, or a proper preview, should I say. But, of course, we were hit quite hard by COVID and injuries in total. I think I counted up and I totaled up, I think it was 13 players in total with a mixture of COVID and injuries, and we still played the game. So even though I did have my my sort of doubts and my concerns before the game and prior to the game against Wycombe, you need to give it to the club, for getting it on. You've got bigger teams, in the Premier League and stuff that they're cancelling games after just a couple of cases of COVID, and we're trying our absolute best. We're we're recalling players and using youth to sort of cover the players that we do have out injured or with COVID, and we're trying our absolute best to keep games going and to keep the league flowing. So, you have to appreciate that regardless of what people might think. Some people I saw across social media say, it's stupid, or is it wise to do that because we could have ended up getting battered? And that was a concern of mine as well. But, the more I think about it, you've got Wigan who have, I think, 3-4 games in hand over us. They're going to have a 5th game in hand over us after Tuesday, and their owner, complaining and asking for the league to be extended, or at least the season to be extended to get their games. But at the end of the day, how many times have we seen Sunderland in a position over the last 2 or 3 seasons, just in League One? If you have a look at the season with Jacques, I think we had 3 or 4 games in hand at one point anyway, and we had to squeeze them in the shortest period of time. And granted, we messed it up, and that brings me on to my next topic. After the 3-3 draw against Wycombe, it was a horrible, horrible way to drop points, because it was a really, really good end-to-end game. In the second half, I think we absolutely deserved to win. There was some really good saves, good goal-mouth scrambles and clearances from Wycombe. We hit the woodwork a couple of times. And, when you go in front in the 92nd minute, to not win the game after that, it's just poor game management, not from Lee Johnson necessarily, but from the players in general, and we're too soft, and we conceded. But 3-3, it is what it is. If we get the win against Lincoln, it'll more than make up for it. But again, you've got Wigan who are going to have a ton of games in hand, and this is the point I was just about to make. How many times have we seen in previous seasons where we've had 3-4 games in hand, won the 2 or 3 points or whatever off the top, whatever it is. I'm not too sure exactly how it's looked, but it's always looked in massive favour of us. But I would absolutely much rather have points on the board than have games in hand, because as we've seen and as we've alluded to, that those games in hand don't mean, if you've got 3 games in hand, it don't mean, oh yeah, that's 9 points there for us. You need to go out and win the games. And don't get me wrong, Wigan, they might win all the games because they look very, very good this season. They've been very, very consistent. They're a very good side. We know that, and we know this. But we've seen it in the past where we've looked a really good team, then it gets around to playing those games in hand, and we absolutely collapse and fall to pieces, and we ruin our season. So I'd rather get the points on the board. I'd rather be sat, in 2nd place than 3rd or 4th with a few games in hand. Regardless of what people think, that is my opinion. But yeah, so against Lincoln, to really push it and keep on solidifying our place in the top 2, regardless of games in hand of teams around us. And we'll go top of the league as well if we win. I'd rather be top of the league with points on the board than looking like we should be going top of the league with games in hand, if that makes sense. But yeah, so looking into the Lincoln game, now looking at Lincoln themselves, they won last time out. They beat Oxford. I think it was 2-0. Oxford did get a man sent off, but you can't take anything away from Lincoln because they're already 2 goals to the good, and I think they had a man sent off like 10-15 minutes to go, so you can't really take it away from Lincoln. They deserved the win. But before that, I don't think they got a league win until I think it was late October against Wigan, of course, which is obviously a very good win. But they didn't get a win in the league since then, since late October, since before this win against Oxford most recently, with some really poor performances, really poor results as well. But you know what they're like. They're a decent side. They have some players that I do really like. Of course, the obvious one being Chris Maguire, who's been starting recently. He's been starting up top. Chris Maguire, if you give him space around the box, he's going to punish you because he does have that bit of magic. And I've said that for a very long time now. Does he have the pace? No. He can get bullied a little bit as well, but he's very, very clever player. He's very creative, and he can pull off a worldie. If put someone around the edge of the box, he's probably one of the players in this league I would trust more than anyone else, because he really does have a cracking shot on him. He's creative, and like I say, he can come up with a moment of magic. But another couple of players defensively, I actually really like Regan Poole, who's been playing in centre-back alongside Monster recently for Lincoln. Two centre-backs I really like, although Regan Poole, last season I think he played large parts at right-back. I actually really liked him there. If anything, I actually quite preferred him at right-back. It's really solid. Reminds me of, obviously not as good, but a little bit like Phil Bardsley. Just like no nonsense, not too spectacular, but he had a really good game against us when we played him in the playoffs last season, and every time we have seen him, he's been very good. So it's going to be difficult to get through them, but in terms of us and what we can do, we can score goals regardless of the system we play at the moment. We're making chances regardless of the players that are on the pitch, and that's what I really like. But at the back, we do look shaky. We do look really shaky, and we looked, against anyone who has a bit of physicality, we really struggle. Flano, who's been excellent this season, one of my players of the season. Doyle, of course, is still a young lad, but he's looked excellent, technically gifted, brilliant at bringing the ball out and asking questions and making players commit, which means that we do manage to move into midfield, and he's a really key aspect to starting off our attacks, Doyle, in my opinion. But defensively at times, he can be a bit too weak. Patterson in goal, he made some great saves against Wickham at the weekend, but also, maybe could have been a little bit stronger. Of course, for the goal that Vokes scored, it does look like he's pretty much got his arm pinned behind his back, and there's very little he could have done about it. But sometimes he's a little bit soft in coming out, and that's what happens when you're a young lad sometimes. But Hoffman, he's a young lad, and he's become a lot better at coming out and claiming balls. But hopefully, I'd like to think, at the stage mark, we generally dominate possession. And if they're playing Maguire, because usually they play three up top with two wingers, recently been playing Maguire down the centre, unless he drops deep, if it's just Maguire pressed up against Flanagan and Doyle, I think they should have an easy time, unless, like I say, he drops deep and turns into a sort of number 10 role or a centre-forward role, then that's when Maguire is really dangerous. But going forward, I think we should really have more than enough to beat and see off this side, Lincoln. But I am going to give you my preferred starting 11 for this game. Unfortunately, there isn't a graphic for this one because the device and the software that I do use to do it, they haven't registered the likes of Diamond and Patterson and stuff like that to be back at the club, so it would have just been an absolute mess and there would have been holes all over the place. And it hasn't registered Trey Hume and stuff like that as well yet, so we'll see that in the future. But what I would go for, if Hoffman and Burge are still out with COVID, then of course it will be Patterson. Now across the back I would do Sirkin at left back, who I think was fantastic against Wickham, by the way. He's just so unbelievably attacking, and I love that. And he's looking more and more solid defensively as well. Really like him. Then in the middle, of course, I would do Doyle and Flanagan as well. Now right back, I would have said maybe Bailey Wright, but I don't know how long he's out for with his knee injury. I know he's out for a while. He's got a niggle. I don't know how long he's out for, like I say. So if not, I would, and this is if a few of the things fall my way as well, I will give Trey Hume his debut. I know he hasn't trained too much, maybe by the time we do play Lincoln, he's only trained a couple of times, and I believe the only reason he didn't play against Wickham is because he had one training session, that was it. But maybe I think it'd be time to blood him in, and the reason I put him there instead of Winchester is because, of course, Evans, he got, I think he had it was a concussion against Wickham. It was a head injury, so I don't know how long he's going to be off with that for. Lee Johnson didn't sound overly concerned in the post-match presser. It just seemed more of a, that's the process you have to take with head injury, so we had to bring him off type thing. It didn't seem like it was going to be a sort of long-term injury. But if you're going to be off for a few days or a week or two, then I would put Winchester and Neil in the middle, which is my favourite pairing in the middle anyway. And then behind Stewart, I would have Gooch, Embleton and Pritchard. So that would be my starting 11. If not, if Evans is back in, then yeah, of course, Winchester at right back, and then maybe put Evans back in the middle, because he was actually looking pretty decent, to be fair, up until he did get injured. And he's actually done pretty well, to be fair. I have to give it to him. Of course, he's pretty much a frigging, his legs are made of Weetabix, but generally it has been okay. And since our upturning form, and he has been playing pieces as well, so I'll give that to him. But yeah, so that would be my starting 11. I do think, like I said, I do think we will we'll have plenty of chances against Lincoln, but we just have to take these chances. Now, going into my score prediction for this game, I am going to go for a Sunderland 3-1 win. I don't think we're going to keep a clean sheet. It's just a Sunderland thing, but I do think we are going to have a bit too much for this Lincoln side. I think they do have really good defenders in terms of Poole and Montsmer as well. Like I say, big fans of them, but because we make so much chances, so many chances, should I say, and Ross Stewart is so clinical at the moment. He's absolutely on fire, the form of his life. I don't think they're going to be able to handle him. Also, off topic as well. So that is my sort of preview done for the game against Lincoln. But off topic, there has been a little bit of news. A few journalists have been mentioning the striker Archer from Aston Villa. Apparently he's been linked with a loan move to either Pompey or Sunderland as well. Now, I've only seen bits and pieces of him. He hasn't made too many Premier League appearances for Aston Villa, but from what I have seen, he looks fantastic and he seems very, very highly rated. You know, I think he scored a hat-trick in his debut in the Carabao Cup at Barrow. I think that might be right. I'm not too sure what competition it was, but he scored a hat-trick. I've watched the hat-trick. He looked really good. He scored against Chelsea as well. He's got a header against Chelsea in the Cup. Looks a very, very good player. He's been, when I've looked at the characteristics that Aston Villa fans are mentioning him or talking about him, should I say, pacey, strong and good in the air as well. And that's exactly what we need, someone who can get him behind and threaten him behind. So as much, Ross Stewart does have a bit of pace, it's not quite the same level as Broadhead, who's utterly rapid. It's disgustingly quick, the way he can move at times, Broadhead. So replace him with someone with a bit more pace would be great. Of course, it's just transfer talk at the minute. But we'll have to see what happens there. But that is everything for this this video, this preview. What score do you think it's going to be, and what lineup would you use if everyone is fit? Well, if it's going to be pretty much the same players that we had available over the weekend, and what lineup would you go with? Let me know in the comments down below. But if you have enjoyed this video, please hit the like button for me. It's always massively, massively appreciated. If you're someone who watches these videos usually, and you don't generally hit the like button, just do it for me today, please. Just do it. That would be nice. Just hit the like button for me. It don't cost a penny, as Sean Middleton would say. And subscribe to the channel if you're not already to become a fully fledged member of the Sarny Army. But for now, you take care and stay jamming.